Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, June 22nd. Today we will have gusty winds and dry conditions over the southern half of the Great Basin, where these wind gusts will gust between 30 and 40 miles per hour with single-digit or low-teen relative humidity. We also could see a few thunderstorms, again over parts of central Idaho and then possibly into southwest Idaho and far northwest Nevada. However, it's on Wednesday and Thursday where these thunderstorms really start to increase both in aerial coverage and in amount of lightning, mainly across Utah and Nevada and to far southern Idaho on Wednesday, and then on Thursday creeping a little bit further north and west. These thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry, but especially over the southern half of the Great Basin, these thunderstorms will be moving fairly quickly, so that will limit rainfall amounts, especially today, but also produce gusty outflow winds. On Thursday, we may see a little bit more moisture into parts of central Utah in the higher terrain. But again, still a critical situation with winds and dry conditions today and then increasing amounts of lightning. Over the last 24 hours, we only saw a few isolated thunderstorms over far northwest Nevada, and these were definitely on the drier side. Great Basin fire activity is shown here with our new starts in the red circles. We had a reported 8 new fires for 871 acres, and growth on our large fires was less than 1,000 acres. Over the last 7 days, any precipitation we've seen has been with thunderstorm activity and fairly spotty across Utah and Nevada. And over the last 2 weeks, just very dry conditions, well below normal precipitation for much of the Great Basin, with the exception of nearly 2 weeks ago where we did see the moisture in southwest Idaho and northern Nevada. Currently, our ERCs remain above the 97th percentile over much of Utah into eastern Nevada and are above the 80th to 90th percentile in Idaho and also creeping above the 80th percentile in far western Nevada. Looking at some of our ERC charts, across Nevada we are seeing a similar trend of ERCs steadily rising and remain well above normal. And over much of Utah we're seeing those ERCs remain at those record levels. Our satellite image from this morning shows the area of low pressure off the west coast. This will be generating our gusty winds over much of the southern half of the Great Basin, and this will eventually push this ridge of high pressure further east for cooling temperatures as we go through mid to late week. Looking at our weather pattern for later today, again, you can see where we have those high risk for gusty winds and low relative humidity across Nevada and Utah. And then again, the strongest winds over southern and eastern Nevada into southwest Utah. So again, these winds will affect some of our large fires today with single digit to low teen relative humidity. As we move into Wednesday, we see a greater surge of that moisture from the south move into Utah and Nevada. So we have a large area of high risk. Right now, coverage looks isolated to widely scattered, but again, these thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry. We will see some moisture moving in, so we could see certainly some higher humidity across parts of Utah and into southern Nevada, along with some rainfall. But with these thunderstorms moving fairly quickly, that will limit our overall potential of wetting rains and still bring the potential of gusty outflow winds. Our radar picture possibly for Wednesday, again, our model showing those thunderstorms across Utah and then into Nevada. Again, our better potential for any wetting rains would be over the higher terrain of Utah, but again, fairly sporadic still on this first day of the return of moisture. We will see again gusty winds, mainly associated with thunderstorm activity, but still otherwise generally breezy still with, again, faster moving storms over Utah and southern Nevada. On Wednesday, again, temperatures will cool. We'll see highs only in the low to mid 90s in our valley locations over the northern half of the Great Basin. You can see how the relative humidity responds, increasing across Utah and southern and eastern Nevada as that moisture moves north. On Thursday, we will see the moisture push a little bit further north into southern Idaho and Wyoming, again bringing our thunderstorm threat really to much of Nevada and Utah, but also into far southern Idaho. These thunderstorms, again, remaining a mix of wet and dry, but our better potential for any wetting rains will be over parts of the higher terrain of Utah. Winds will generally diminish, but again, gusty outflow winds near these thunderstorms are certainly a possibility. Into Wednesday, temperatures will continue to cool with highs only reaching some of the mid to upper 80s in the valley locations of Nevada and Utah. And again, relative humidity continues to increase across Utah as that moisture remains in place for another day. Looking at our 3-day precip, again, you can see many areas seeing the potential of some light precipitation with those thunderstorms. Again, the best potential for any wetting rains will be in the higher terrain of Utah. Certainly much needed in that area, but remains to be seen how widespread that moisture is. Going into later in the week, we will see drying conditions move in from the west. No high risk for thunderstorms, but we certainly could see that moisture still hang on over eastern areas of the Great Basin with some lightning activity. On Saturday, the ridge really starts to build across the Great Basin, so temperatures will be on the rise again. And then by Sunday, dry and hot conditions region-wide. We will see valley temperatures again peak near or above 100 degrees across much of the Great Basin, including our valleys of Idaho. These hot conditions continue on Monday. We will see some moisture start to creep back in from the south, so bringing the potential for the return of lightning to southern areas of the Great Basin, possibly by Monday, but also going into Tuesday. So no high risk yet. That's quite a ways out in the forecast, but we will certainly have a period of hot and dry conditions again over the weekend into early next week prior to the next surge of moisture. No real change in the 7-day total precip from the 3-day, as our lightning activity is really from now through about Thursday and possibly Friday. And then the 8 to 14-day outlook taking us into the end of June, into the first week in July. Warm temperatures, dry conditions for the north, but again, we can see that monsoon moisture start to take shape in the southwest, and that will be pushing up into the Great Basin. So we'll continue to watch that and see when the moisture really moves into the Great Basin for a prolonged period of time. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.